quick day so far for the DreamHack SC2 Masters, but we're going to be moving to another match, which I am a little more hopeful is not going to be a quick one. Even when we've had 2-1s, it feels like they've been pretty quick, Kev. I'm hoping this is going to change the pace.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I have a good feeling about it. You know, often when you have a long day, you're always going to have a couple of one-sided short series. That's just kind of the way that StarCraft goes, right? Not every game can be hype and the best thing we've ever seen, but eventually these things do turn around. So, got a pretty good feeling about it. And even though, like, DNS against Raynor wasn't a great series, I'm not going to tell you guys, please go back, watch the VOD. But DNS was actually playing really well in game 1 on Golden Wall. He really had a good setup. Not too many things happened, and I know then he just kind of died, and that's like really funny to make fun of. But he actually played really solid up to the 7-minute mark. And in game 2, I actually think he gave too much credit to Raynor because I felt there was a lot of potential in his adepts. And I think he could have done more than he actually did if he would have been a bit more all-in-y. So don't count DNS out. I think he has what it takes to make this a fun one.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing, we're going to be expecting DNS to be a bit more aggressive, to be put on some adept pressure and stuff. Now, the question for me is that Elazer is also a Zerg player who is notorious for liking to get aggressive himself, trying to set the pace of a match, even when Zerg players typically in the meta at the time would try and be a little more safe or defensive and passive and reactive. So I really want to know what's Elazer been doing, because he did manage to turn things around after his 0-4 starts with the 2-0 start, and I don't actually know what those games look like, so I really want to see what his PVZ is.
Well, I think that Miko's kind of going back to like the glory days of Elazer, which is just like a lot of Hydra Link Bane, some Bane Link dropping, and you know, all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, let's go ahead and hop into it. So far, we didn't see the best StarCraft yet, but perhaps that's going to change here because this man did look pretty good against Raynor. Spawning in the bottom left side, hailing from France, it is DNS.
And up at the top right, we have the red Zerg player. Had a rough start in the group, but he says momentum's back on his side. It is Team of Go's Elazer.
You know, it's really funny. Is that like Elazer does quite a bit of posting on Instagram. And he made a little story before he played against Sort of, where he was like, okay, guys, I'm down 0-1, but this is it. Let's turn this around, you know? And then he posted a super dramatic story afterwards, which is like in black and white and some really sad music. And he's face bombing. He's like, no, lost 0-2. He played really well, though. So it's like, it's actually kind of funny how he's still thinking about creating content after dropping his second series 0-2.
I'm telling you, man, those European players, like all of them are starting to get gradually into that content creation. We've had Hero Marine, obviously, he's always been streaming, but Harsum has just been doubling down and digging into it. Elazer, Petit Drogo with his Twitter memes. The EU scene is becoming like half and half player content creators.
I mean, the more the merrier, and I can definitely appreciate some StarCraft 2 humor. Why the hell not?
I will never say no to Petit Drogo meme.
All right, so if I just go back to that series that DNS played, he tried that carrier into ground army build one game on, I think that was actually an Eternal Empire that he tried to do that. And the adepts really had some serious potential because Rain was at like 82 drones and basically had a lot of Corruptors. That was about it, but he was a bit hesitant and he didn't have a way to reinforce. In game 1, he died against a Roach-Ling Queen attack. But he was playing very solid and clean up to that point. I think DNS doesn't really deserve to be 0-3 in this group. And that's obviously a tough place to be in, especially when your next opponent is Elazer. But I think he's been playing better so far than the score is representing.
All right. Well, that does make me a bit more hopeful that both these players are kind of on the edge of starting to turn things around a little bit. But we do have a Stargate opening over here from DNS. Going to be getting out that first adept. Doesn't look like he is sending it across the map right now. Yeah, just leaving it in the main base, kind of interestingly enough.
Maybe I'm actually not sure why he's doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea,
Usually
man.
that means you're more vulnerable to like some kind of all-in or some kind of aggression your opponent would put out since you have no vision, right?
Okay. The only argument I can make is that sometimes when you force your opponents to expand on a different location, they do take their gas quite a bit quicker, right? So if you're able to get that hatch block off, they tend to expand further away. So they want to get Zergling speed a little bit quicker so they can protect those drones that are, being transferred between the bases. But a lot of Zergs will also do like, oh, you want to hatch block me or you want to pylon block me? I'll just all in you. So maybe DNS just like, in case I do get all in, I want to make sure that I have every single little bit of DPS that I need to have on the right side of the wall. Because having an adept picking away at Zerglings can actually make the difference between holding or not holding.
Yeah. It's just so funny because it feels like the adept, it's not even sitting at the front. It's sitting in the corner, and it almost reads to me like DNS has played some ladder game versus the Elazer. We went for like a fast Overlord Ling drop or something in the main, or just did something strange. And it feels like there's maybe a little bit more context or history to this particular decision than we are actually privy to.
I think it's just like one of those I'd rather be safe than sorry moments. Now, of course, you can say that it's really scary that he didn't scout at anything all along. But this is not a great map for those Roach Ling all-ins or a Baneling boss. First of all, he already had oracles. Second of all, there's a ramp going into the natural. So Zerg players don't really like to all-in. Now, when I say that, Elazer is actually sending a lot of his links to the other side of the map immediately. There's no shield battery here, Ravi. And that actually is a little bit annoying. Now, DNS is going to go for the full wall off for now. And he's also going to be forced to stay on 2 bases. And the oracles have to turn around. They didn't really do much yet on the other side of the map. Oh, Elazer with a counterattack at a very uncharacteristic moment, or rather an uncommon moment. But this is actually working out in a fantastic way for him.
It's completely disrupted DNS's game plan. When you try and go for these big adept pushes, or you try and be effective with your oracles, it is all about a little narrow window where these units can really be effective. Now, I've got to hand it to DNS. 6 drone kills and escaping out with both oracles alive. That is way more damage than I expected him to get this late on. But hey, yeah, he manages to get some damage done regardless of the kind of delays he had.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. And that's definitely something that I think you need as well. I mean, we're closing in at the 6-minute mark at this point. If you're opening Stargate Oracle, you want this Nexus to be pretty much done by now. Protoss players often feel super confident as long as they have an Oracle out on the map. They have an Adept tucked away between either 2 pylons or, a mineral patch. Then they go up to 3 bases. So this Nexus is late, which means DNS really needed those 6 drones. But to be totally honest, I feel like he needed even a little bit more than just 6 drones. And maybe the Adepts can finally start to accomplish that by the time that he feels it's safe to leave his Nexus alone.
I'm with you, Roddy. And it's frustrating too because he doesn't even exactly have his big gateway flood.
Whoa, that is a lot of Adepts.
He's hard committing to this. And it might be a little bit tough because we do have Elazer already making the Roaches, but the Roach count is not that high just yet. He's only just now maybe getting up to 6 to 12 Roaches, and there are a lot more Adepts than that can easily split up between bases if they even desire to. You're going to be encountering some of the Lings over in the center of the map, so a few of these Adepts already getting picked off. A good start for Elazer, but again, like you said, Roddy, that's a lot of Adepts.
It is a lot of Adepts, but that was a fantastic move to pick off those initial 4 Adepts. That's going to make the follow-up defense a lot easier. 8 drones go down. Elazer still ahead, but this is actually a fantastic shade because the Adepts are now only shooting at drones and Zerglings, and that means that the drone count now actually is lower than the probe count on the other side of the map. 17 drones have gone down, and it's pretty hard to make Hydra Linkbane work. Now, the big question is, can he defend the counterattack? There's no battery here, but there are 2 oracles with a ridiculous amount of energy.
Oh, those oracles are going to be so handy right now.
No.
I'd feel a little bit better if you had the Immortals already out, or even just one actually at that 3rd base already. But this is definitely going to make it a very tight defense.
I actually don't like the fact that he activated Pulsar Beam that early there. I would have loved to see him just wait a little bit longer. I know he's got a lot of energy, but you'd be surprised how quickly those things run out, especially if there's a lot to shoot at. It seems like Elazer is not really committing, though, which I think is kind of cool, because he really sold this in a pretty convincing manner. He's like, I'm going for it. Like DNS kind of felt it by even dropping the creep in front of the Nexus as well. I like the way that Elazer played this, and he's actually sitting on a lot of gas, like 1,400 gas in the bank for Elazer at this point.
Yeah, and he's got the Hydrogen and I guess a Baneling nest finished up over here, but where is that gas going to actually end up going? Hydras, yeah, they cost a bit of gas, but not that much, and you really do need the minerals to complement it. Ling's going to try and get a bit of damage on over here. Managed to hold position on a few of these probes, getting 2 probe kills. Really just trying to keep DNS back for now as he finishes up +1 missile attack or melee and also adds on his Hydras.
Yep, 7 Banelings are going to morph, and a couple of them on the other side of the map. They're going to maybe try to find their way into the natural of DNS. Oh, I don't know what just happened over there. Elazer got really upset at his own creep tumor, so he decided to pick that one off. Oracles? I actually would have loved to see, like, what you should do there if you're Elazer is not shoot at the Oracles immediately. Oh, actually Banelings connecting with probes over here. That's kind of cool. 5 probes go down. But what Elazer should have done there with the Queens is right-click under the Oracles, and then he should have tried to target the low HP Oracle. Then he would have absolutely killed it. But now, because he started shooting at them from so far away, he lost a lot of potential DPS, and then DNS gets the heads up as well that his units are under attack. Now, it didn't really matter, because he's still going to get the Oracle kill. But you know what I mean, Ravi.
Yeah, catch him by surprise for sure. We do have double Colossus production now beginning up, and it's kind of funny, you know, DNS has been consistently warping in off of the 4 gateways, but it's really just been 4 gateways this entire time, almost until the 10-minute mark. Finally, more gateways are being added on, but he's just relying on the power units of those Colossus to try and make some big damage happen alongside things like the Immortals, and just really heavily relying on the Robo production. But the first 2 Colossus are only just now popping out as this army makes its way forward, and Thermal Lance is a good way away from finishing.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem, right? That Thermal Lance is going to take such a long time to finish up. Otherwise, I really don't hate this position for DNS. I mean, he's got a cannon there, he's got a couple of batteries to fall back to, he's going to pop a Guardian Shield immediately as well. It's going to be important that the force fields are good, and so far they are good. With 5 Immortals, Roaches don't really stand much of a chance, and this is actually a very successful hold so far. DNS is in a pretty good position, Fair Dragon. I'm starting to really believe in him in this game.
Yeah, force field's definitely holding strong, and he's still got 3 of those sentries alive to continue force fielding if there's another attempt from Elazer to try and push on in. Elazer is doing 2 things right now, though. He is getting up drop overlords to try and do a little bit of what I imagine is going to be that good old Baneling drop aggression that you were talking about before. He's getting the Spire added on. You think the Spire is just going to be adding on some Corruptors, dealing with the Colossus?
Yes, I think so. Because, I mean, actually, there's no blink. And it'd be odd to go Mutas here, because I think if you go Mutas, there's a good chance that DNS says, to hell with it. I'm going to run to the other side of the map. I'm going to try to win the game. And that's always a difficult call to make, but I think in that case, the Elazer is really not going to have much of a chance to properly fight this army. I don't know, we'll see. I don't hate Corruptors, but there is also a timer on Corruptors, right? Like, it will work if the Protoss army is small, but if the Protoss army is maxed out, then there's a reason why Roach Hydra Corruptor is not that common anymore. It's because it's not that great.
Yeah, well, Spire's now finished up. It's going to be Corruptors. Spends a good chunk of that gas bank onto those. I was getting a little worried because I was like, you know, Protoss nightmare situation when your opponent just shows up with 20 mutas, because we were actually getting to almost the 2k gas tank point. But with the Corruptors being made, like you said, there's going to be that narrow little window where Elazer wants to make use of the Corruptors, and then it looks like his big transition point is Infestation.
Baneling drops. Baneling drops with +2, and the first one is big. There's one in the natural as well. Oh my goodness. That's why +2 is one hell of an upgrade. That final Baneling kind of whiffed. They could have gotten a few more probes, but 29 probes go down just like that. Fantastic move by Elazer, and I absolutely love
39.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely love the way that he waited for +2. I actually thought he wanted to go earlier, but he sent his drop lord around, and he's like, nope, I'm just gonna tuck it away into this little corner, and I'll wait for my upgrade to kick in. That's big.
Kev, as DNS, do you just say, I just got absolutely smashed in economy, I need to do something right now? Or do you just sit back, say, I have barely enough, I'm just going to max out and then do something?
I think that moving out when you're not really ready to move out is the trap. That's when you lose. That's the great
those
stasis.
stasis traps!
Yeah, the Corruptors are very clumped up as well, Robbie. So the Archons could technically get some good shots off, but the Archons are not firing at the Corruptors yet. which I'm a bit surprised by. I honestly felt that was an easy target. In the end, a couple of the Immortals and Colossus will survive, but...
Colossus actually going to get hit by the Banelings because it walks a little too far forward. Sentry is also getting taken out. I think that despite the massive stasis traps, Elazer turned this fight to his advantage. And remember, it's off the back of a far superior economy.
Yep, Elazer can do that one more time. DnS can't really, even losing 7 more probes in that entire fight. I honestly thought that he was going to be able to pick up the Corruptors in literally like one volley of the Archons. They were pretty clumped up, and Archons are clumsy units, and they have T-Rex arms, but those Corruptors were Super X balls. And if you take care of that and then you survive with your Immortal Colossus army, you're actually in a good position, despite the fact that you lost that many probes. Right now, I'm afraid that there is no way for DNS to really turn this game around anymore. And yeah, these kind of games, they sting because I thought he was in a very playable position. It's just that the Baneling drops absolutely obliterated him.
And that is one of the brutal things about those Baneling drops is that, especially if you're good and you wait for +2 weapons to one-shot those workers, it can be game-ending. It can force the Protoss player or whoever they're playing against to just immediately make hard decisions about whether or not they should just immediately all in or if they play from behind. And oh god, that's Stalker. How is that not a wall?
I love how they're all getting by one as well, with just like a little bit of help from the other Zergling that is getting pushed through. These Lings, of course, still with +2 as well, which means they'll do a lot of damage to these Zealots that are only now being warped in. Yeah, this army of DNS is simply not big enough. The Baneling count is high enough. It's that high that you can actually just run it into Archons and GG gets called. Elazer will take the 1-0 lead here on Pillars of Gold. But it was not a bad game. Like, those are kind of interesting games, right? A little back and forth.
Yeah, I am definitely a fan of a game like that. We got to see a little bit of that back and forth, but I feel like even though I wouldn't say Elazer was like super far ahead the entire game, obviously the big Baneling drops is what really put him into that far ahead position.
Yep.
But I feel like there were just so many small things that were going Elazer's way, you know, like catching the Adepts as they were actually on that move out across the map, hitting that third base and slowing it down from really being like taken over there for a really long time, finding the Oracles and like pushing them back. Like so many small things are just going well for Elazer the entire game.
No, you're definitely right. And I kind of like the question that you asked after he lost all the probes, where you're like, is this just where you say to hell with it? I'll just go for it. That's the trap. That's when you step on creep and you're like, they can't have that much. And that's when the 360 Banelings come in and collapse on your army. And you're like, all right, should not have done that. You know, I lost my economy, but now I also lost my army. I felt that with maybe a battery or two, that's what's missing there. Because the corrupt count wasn't that high. And Hydra Link Bane has a very hard time engaging into an Archon Immortal Colossus army. So I think there was some more potential there. It's just that the Corruptors had free reign and they just kept on going literally forever on those Colossus. And I think that really made the difference there in that one fight.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. I feel like if the Corruptors had been taken care of, the rest of the ground army, the Colossus actually were just doing really, really well against. It was just when the Colossus started falling that, yeah, ground army might be gone, but now there's nothing to clean up all the Banelings and all the other things that got trapped in there. So tough situation there for DNS. He's already had a really, really rough run in the group. And now this is going to be, even if he is somehow able to turn this series around, it's already kind of playing against his current map score right now. So this is actually, I think this is the do or die match. I don't know that DNS can actually advance out of this group anymore if he cannot turn this series around.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a crazy way. Let's say Mana, Reina win everything, then Vanya sort of, and Elazer lose all against each other. But that's not realistic, guys. If DNS somehow wants to keep a little bit of hope alive of making top 4 in this group, he needs to win this best of 3. I'm with you. There's no way around it. And I feel like in the last 3 PVCs I saw of him, he looks all right. There is potential. He looks promising, gets himself in decent spots. It's just not really able to close it out yet. And eventually it really starts taking away some of your confidence as well, where you're like, man, like this wasn't going that bad. I killed an insane amount of drones. I was actually in an okay spot. I like the tech I was heading into. Why did this not work out? You know, these are things that you really start asking yourself at a certain point. Anyway, he's got to shake it up. Or yeah, shake it off rather. Maybe mix it up. I don't know if he wants to turn this one around. In the top right side, we're looking at the main base of the Frenchman. He's down 0-1. It's DNS.
And down in the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player sitting up 1-0. It is Team Go's Elazer. I'm with you, Roddy. I am a bit afraid this kind of situation, you know, this whole like past week and now this week, DNS has been struggling and now he's sitting down 0-1. It is really hard to not feel that kind of pressure. I mean, yes, DNS has been around in the scene for a while, but I feel like he has had a lot of these times where there's maybe some hype around him or he's in an important match, and it seems like it has affected him before.
No, you're spot on. When we had the traditional WCS circuit and we had these events where you had like first group stage, second group stage, and third group stage, DNS had days where he was just on point, man. He would win his first group, win his second group, win the third group, and only drop like 1 or 2 maps on his way into the playoffs. And then you open up the final day, you're like, guys, like, you know, or you open up day 2 rather. It was always day 2. Like, we're in the playoffs. DNS has been looking really good. Then he runs into Hero Marine and he loses 0-3. That didn't happen just once. That happened on multiple occasions. And yeah, I kind of thought that this format maybe would have been okay for him to shine because it doesn't come down to a single series. It's not just like all eyes on you. This is it. If you lose, you're out of the tournament. I mean, to be fair, he had opportunities so far. Just not able to win a single out of the potential first 4 series. I mean, then I guess there is no valid argument to be made for you needing to advance, right?
Yeah, it's a hard sell, but all right, so we're gonna see what is DNS's plan in game number 2 when he's up against the ropes. He's gonna add on the Twilight Council, and with an Adept being started up, Roddy, I feel like we might be seeing some more Adept play, some more Adept memes.
Yep. Last game, DNS waited for a very long time. I gotta say, by the way, this is something we didn't have much time to talk about because there were so many things happening in that phase in the game. But DNS was basically, I think, playing with the idea of shading like 16 adepts into the third base, and at the same time shading 4 adepts into the natural. And if all of the units of Elazer would have been busy dealing with the 16 adepts, I think those 4 adepts in the natural, they can take care of a queen rather quickly. And then they can start sending into or shading into the main base as well and take care of a lot of drones. That would have been a really cool play. But Elazer, even though he wasn't totally ready to fight the adepts, he just dove on the initial 4 adepts when they were split up the rest of the pack. And I thought that was a brilliant call by Elazer.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. It's kind of interesting because we aren't actually going to see Resident Englaves coming on out. It's going to be the Dark Shrine. A few more gateways are being added on. We're kind of getting a bit of a throwback build over here. Haven't seen as many players do the DT drops, but I'm still a fan of it.
Yep, it's just solid. It's also very nice to have such an early Dark Shrine because there are a couple of weird Zerg builds out there that consist of a lot of Zerglings and Queens and Roaches running to the other side of the map. They don't deal very well with Dark Templars early on because often there is no lair for builds like that. So that's why it's also very nice to have a Dark Shrine on a tiny map like Everdream.
Kev, you never have to convince me that getting a Dark Shrine kind of early is a good idea. Just remove it from the book of things you'll need to convince me of.
I wasn't trying to convince you. I was just echoing your sentiments.
Yeah, I
I
know.
wanted you to smile a little bit, thinking of great Dark Shrine moments, you know.
Oh, well, it definitely was successful. Now we have quite a few units coming out over here from Elazer, and Spore Callers also being added on. So it seems like even though that one Overlord from the natural doesn't seem like it actually got too far in, Elazer has a pretty good idea of what could possibly be heading his way and should be able to push back just the pure DTs.
Yeah, I mean, 4 Dark Templars is always a bit dicey, but we don't really expect a player of Elazer's caliber to make a mistake here. Dark Templars thinking of running into the main base. That Spore Crawler feels a little bit exposed. It can't happen right now. Good job there. Using the drones to block it as well. And DNS is going to be forced to pick up his Dark Templars. These are still awkward scenarios, though. There's no Spore Crawler on the ramp, so DTs can actually just kind of chill there. He could make a wall of Dark Templars. That's always my dream.
I love that. I also really like that DNS is doing something a lot of Protoss players don't do, which is, again, easier said than done. But so many Zerg players try and cut the corner against these kind of builds, right? They'll get 2 spore crawlers and just kind of play the, the 33% chance that they will go to the base that you didn't get a spore crawler up. It's so unlikely. I can unburrow the spore from my other base and move it over. DNS actually just goes through and checks all of the bases with his DTs. He's like, no, I gotta make sure you actually got everything up.
Archon's gonna start working on their first Overlord. Elazer has actually a lot of Zerglings on the other side of the map. It is super important that the Stalker doesn't drop the ball again, because that would have been a few too many links to deal with in your main in this phase in the game. But so far, DNS is bulletproof. I mean, Elazer does have a good economy, though. He really didn't take a lot of drone losses. And I know it is hard to get too much done if your opening gets scouted immediately. Getting a few Overlords is nice, and he did force out, of course, a lot of Zerglings. I think DNS was hoping for a little more than he got so far, though.
Yeah, and I feel like this is part of the reason why the Archon drops did start kind of fading from what a lot of Protoss players tended to do in their PvZs, right? It's a solid opening, but at the same time, it's so difficult to get anything really done because so many Zerg players just had to play against this for it feels like 2 to 3 years. It just was every single game of PvZ would open this way. And Zerg players got really good at dealing with it.
Yeah, it's one of these builds. I think solid is indeed the best word to go for it, but I think a better way to put it as well is that you rarely hit the jackpot with the Archon opener, right? There is no like, oh my goodness, like unless all the drones are somehow clumped up. It's just like you're working often quite hard for very little. Then again, it's also relatively easy to execute, right? Especially now that Queens have less range. Anyway, this is a relatively big army by DNS. 7 minutes into the game, we're looking at 5 Archons and 3 Immortals, a couple of Force Foods available as well. He's diving in real deep, but Elazer is coming in from the right side.
Oh, Corrosive Bile is actually landing on top of a lot of these Archons, and while the Force Seals are keeping out some of the Roaches on the south side, like you said, Roddy, those Roaches coming in from the right are keeping these Immortals, the Sentries, busy. A big warping of charge loss is going to start to try and turn the tide, but I think there's just way too much Zerg over here right now, Roddy. He is starting to back up a little bit, but remember, those 12 Roaches of reinforcements are about to pop out, and all of the Archons, all of the chargeless just disappeared.
Yep, I mean, it's close, but it is indeed a hold in the end. 58 army supply remains for Elazer, but he did lose a lot of drones in the process. A couple of Queens went down as well. I gotta say, still an impressive defense by Elazer. Because when I looked at the Protoss army, I was like, oh my goodness, that army is monstrous for like 7 minutes and 20 seconds into the game, right? 3 Immortals, Sentries, 5 Archons, but Elazer with a very nice engagement and some great crisis management there as well. Is safe for now. I don't see an Overseer, so he shouldn't really commit because we still have that Dark trying out on the map.
Oh yeah, good point. We already see the DTs over there. Forza tries to lock in a few of those Roaches, ends up backing off as he sees the army of Elazer starting to make its way forward. The creep also being dropped from these Overlords to speed these units up just a little bit faster. The charge lots getting surrounded. Here comes the Overseer to pick off those DTs. The Immortals really have to carry over here, and I don't think those Sentries on the top left are going to be too useful anymore as they are starting to get picked off. And even the shield battery getting overcharged gets taken out. Roddy, I think that Elazer is looking for a 2-0 right now.
Yep, Elazer with some great Zerg macro, despite the fact that he lost a couple of Queens there, just pushing out so many units. DNS refusing to give up, though, with some good Immortal juggling. Actually keeps those alive a little bit longer than I expected. And he's still up 2 workers. That's normally a fantastic spot to be in as a Protoss player. Now, it feels a little bit weird because Elazer does have that 4th base. But Elazer is still making units. I don't want to call this an all-in because he has that base with the rich Vespian Geyser as well to fall back onto. But look at the amount of ravages he's making. Elazer is putting every single penny he currently has into the follow-up attack.
Yeah, and I think that DNS is also responding in turn. He's not getting up any additional tech. There's no Robo Bay coming down. There's no Templar Archives or anything else. It is just all about raw gateway units, more Immortals along those lines. 3 Immortals gonna have to try and hold the line over here.
Oh, circling run by, sorry mate, circling run by into the natural, into the main base. That is going to be very difficult for DNS to deal with. Raleigh also, of course, has to avoid the Ravages and all those Corrosive Biles. Fantastic move by Elazer and a very unfortunate mistake here for DNS.
That might very well end up being the game-winning move over here because Any hopes that DNS had that this was going to be a kind of even economy situation or anything are now completely dashed hope. 25 workers to 57. Elazer just making more roaches because he knows these lings are already doing enough. All I have to do is survive now.
Yeah, what I run by. 26 probes going down out of a 50 probe economy. Even Big Gabriel would say that's pretty big. Like, maybe he wouldn't use the massive ward, but he'd be like, yeah, that's pretty good. And Elazer obviously knows that he is now in a very sweet position. I'd love to see him take the Rich Vespian gas. Even, you know, this is my thing. Even if you don't need extra gas, I don't think he really needs those 8 drones, by the way. That's kind of crazy by Elazer, because all he really needs to do is survive a little bit longer. Then he's going to win. Those 8 drones could be rather unfortunate. There are still 3 Immortals in the mix, Ravi.
Yeah, they can do some serious damage. Unfortunately, a lot of the frontline buffer of those Zealots has already started disappearing. 1 Archon and 8 Zealots are the only thing protecting those Immortals from certain death from the Roaches and Ravagers. Oh, Corrosive Vials landing on top of the Protoss army as well. Oh, it's a disaster, Roddy.
Yeah, it is a disaster. It's not a pretty fight. I don't think DNS really wanted to commit to the fight. GG gets called. It's just that, once again, DNS found himself in one of these positions where if he sits back after losing 26 probes, he is going to lose. So at that point, he's forced to attack. Man, this game was actually awfully close. I really wonder how this game plays out if that circling run-by doesn't happen. I was paying attention to the match, by the way, and it wasn't that the unit wasn't like on hold position. There was just no unit. There was nobody, you know, keeping the doors locked over there. Oh, DNS often looks all right, and then he's just not able to close it out.
All right, well, we're going to head to a short break before we get to hear from Zombie Grub in just a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. You're watching the DreamHack SC2 Masters.